What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to some news about the United States Embassy in Denmark. So, apparently, they made the decision to remove all the Danish flags that had been decorating the U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen. And to be honest, I don't really understand why we would do this. Especially now, we've already made so many countries around the world very, very upset with the United States. But, I didn't hear anything about this here on the United States news networks or anything. So today, I really want to take some time to check this out and understand what exactly happened. So let's take a look.
We begin the day with the anger in Denmark. This week, the U.S. Embassy in Copenhagen removed scores of Danish flags that had been placed in front of the building. The flags were meant to honor Danish soldiers killed during the NATO mission to Afghanistan. A member of the embassy's staff was...
What? Are you kidding me? I didn't know that. Are you kidding me? Are you serious right now? Why would we do that? Why the hell would we ever do that? Oh my God. And it's like, you know what else? There was a lot of a sort of drama around this recently where actually Donald Trump in an interview recently, I don't know if you heard about this, but he gave a statement kind of making fun of our NATO allies who helped the United States fight in Afghanistan. So he said, well, let me see if I can find the clip. Hold on. He basically he basically was kind of ragging on some of the NATO allies of the United States. We had our war in Afghanistan, and a lot of our allies helped us fight and died for us to help us. And he did an interview where he said something really, really stupid about that. Okay. Yeah, here we go. Okay, here it is.
We have never really asked anything of them. They'll say they sent some troops to Afghanistan or this or that. And they did. They stayed a little off the front lines.
UK was a...
Yeah, there you go. So he's talking about NATO troops there. And he says, we never ask anything of NATO, and they'll say that they came and helped us in Afghanistan, but they stayed off the front lines. They didn't even fight on the front lines. They literally fought and died to help us. So that was incredibly disrespectful. And now you're telling me the U.S. Embassy in Denmark took down Danish flags, and those flags were specifically meant to memorialize Danish soldiers that helped us in Afghanistan. Is this actually what happened? Are you actually kidding me right now?
Soldiers killed during the NATO mission to Afghanistan. A member of the embassy's staff was filmed taking flags down on Wednesday morning. And the flags had been put there after U.S. President Trump said last week that soldiers from non-U.S. NATO countries had, quote, stayed a little back from the fighting in Afghanistan.
Oh my God, this is so... it just pains me so much. For one, it pains me because of the disrespect to our allies like Denmark and the disrespect to what these flags represent. And then it's like, on another level, it's just so frustrating watching Donald Trump and whoever made this decision. Somebody in the American government made this decision to take down these flags. They are just ruining, the reputation of the United States. Ruining. Why would you? What? Okay, so now I understand. After Trump made those insensitive comments, they put up these flags, to for one thing, to say, Denmark had a lot of soldiers fight and die in Afghanistan, to kind of put like a middle finger to Trump, I suppose, and to honor these soldiers. That's why the flags were there, sort of as a response to that. And it's like, to take those down? What are you thinking? So they sent out this one person to do that, just to rip the flags out?
Had, quote, stayed a little back from the fighting in Afghanistan. A spokesperson for the embassy said that there was no ill intent in taking the flags down, but politicians and veterans representatives, they've condemned the move.
Why would, what? Why would, it's almost like, oh my God. It's so bad. It's almost like someone at the embassy or Donald Trump himself was like mad or irritated at the flags. I mean, that's the only way I can interpret it. Like, why would you take the flags down? Like, unless you didn't like them, right? Or didn't like what they represented, or this is just the most tasteless, out of touch, stupid, disrespectful thing you could do, especially, and to also do it at a time like this. Ooh.
Well, I'm joined now by journalist Jacob Illeborg in Copenhagen. Jacob, it's good to have you with us. I know you've been following this story. Tell us exactly what happened at the U.S. Embassy this week.
Yeah.
Well, extraordinary scenes in many ways. As you say, the Americans say there was no ill intent, but they did take the flags down. What happened then was that Danes, ordinary Danes, the following day came by the embassy and started planting new flags. And instead of the 44 flags there originally to commemorate the fallen Danish soldiers, suddenly there were hundreds of flags.
Wow.
And it became a viral story. It became a story that everybody had to comment upon, and they have. And there's been a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, I think, if you will, about the insensitivity of the Americans in this term.
I don't know if it was one stupid person at the embassy who asked for this, or maybe it was Donald Trump himself. Who knows? But it doesn't really matter. I would agree with like the Danish point of view on this. It's just so disrespectful. And from the American point of view, I have to say, it's so like, what is the point of this? To piss everyone off? How, like, what? Just from like a selfish point of view, what do we have to benefit from doing that? And it should be bigger than that. We should really be saying like, oh, you know what? We should be commemorating the fallen Danish soldiers who fought and died to help us, and we should be allowing these flags to be there because they are meaningful, and this is a good thing to have flags. Instead, we're like ripping them out. What? So as an American, I don't even understand what we were thinking.
Yeah, I mean, when we look at the images, it doesn't look like the flags were a nuisance or bothering anyone. How is the U.S. Embassy explaining its decision to remove the flags?
Well, as you said before, they're basically saying that there was no ill intent, that maybe some security guy removed it overnight, and they have now allowed the flags to remain there. But even before the flags were removed, Danish veterans, unhappy with Trump's rhetoric, has said that they were going to make a demonstration. They called it a manifestation in front of the embassy this Saturday. So there was already, if you will, frustration and some bad blood. And of course, removing the flags didn't help at all. So the feeling right now in
No.
Copenhagen, I've been speaking to both veterans and ordinary people this week here in Copenhagen, is one of great anger, actually. And I think that gradually it feels like people are sort of
Wow.
making a stand, if you will. Whereas in the beginning, a lot of Danes felt that this was sort of strange being in the middle of a geopolitical crisis. Now it feels like many Danes, including the veterans, feel that you have to make a stand for what you believe in. And if you
That's right, because this also it all kind of started with the whole Greenland thing, right? That's what really put Denmark actually in the middle of a big geopolitical sort of controversy and conflict. It started with the Greenland thing, then the insensitive remarks about NATO allies, which include Denmark and include soldiers who died from Denmark, and now yet again, we have this embassy thing where I understand why a lot of Danish people would feel passionate about this and feel offended by this, and yeah, like maybe it takes a few things, but with all this added up together, I absolutely understand why people would be genuinely upset. Like this is, if anybody did all of this stuff to the United States, we would be like protesting and like angry and doing yeah. So how can I possibly fault you for this?
you're Danish, you obviously believe in Denmark and the Danish kingdom.
And how can the U.S. Embassy, kind of right this perceived wrong? I mean, what we've been hearing is that inside the embassy, the official line is they didn't realize what the flags represented or why they had been put there.
Oh my god. Don't do that. Stop. Don't use the excuse, oh, we didn't know. We had no idea what these flags meant. We went right over our head. No idea. Have we done something? Has the United States done anything recently? I don't know. Don't use ignorance as an excuse. Don't act like you don't understand what happened. Don't act like you don't know who did it. That is annoying in a totally different way. That is annoying. Acting like you are stupid and don't understand what's going on. That's what the U.S. is doing.
That seems far-fetched.
Yeah, it's possible, but I think that comes on top of the insults towards Danish soldiers that President Donald Trump has come out with. And I think those two things put together, it doesn't make it look very good. And you ask me,
No.
what could they do to correct this? I suppose that they could come out with a different rhetoric towards the Danish veterans and towards Denmark altogether. But until they do, I think the feeling here is that the Danes will make a stand, and they will this weekend.
And the embassy is now.
So there's going to be there's a protest, there's the flags, the American embassy just has to come out and say, we support Danish soldiers, we support Denmark, but this is obviously a branch of the United States government led by Donald Trump, so I don't think they would do that, actually.
Now allowing flags to be placed there. As you said, there are many more flags now than there were originally. But pictures speak 1,000 words, right? And it seems like there's 1,000 words right now that do not bode well for the relationship between the U.S. and Denmark.
Well, there's been talks going on in Washington between the Danes, the Greenlandics, and the U.S. administration this week, and they seem to be going well. But the feeling in Denmark altogether now is that Denmark and Greenland belong together, and that Denmark has served U.S. as an ally for many years, including the Danish soldiers who served under U.S. command, and that these insults cannot go on. The U.S. cannot continue to put up posters of Donald Trump in Greenland or wanting to take over Greenland one way or the other. And
Yeah, thank goodness a lot of the Greenland stuff has kind of settled down. Donald Trump has kind of walked back a lot of the Greenland ridiculousness. Man, yeah, but I absolutely understand why Danish people specifically would be totally over it. Like like just annoyed, mad, you know, disrespected. I get it. I get it. I think it's good to see news reports like this, for Americans to see this stuff. I didn't know about this, and I think a lot of Americans don't realize in how many ways people around the world, like in Denmark, are just, you know, not happy with us, to say the least. Not happy. Like, Americans really need to realize that the American reputation is being ruined and people are not happy. Like, so this is obviously a horrible situation, and America has really offended Denmark, but I'm glad I saw this, and I think more Americans need to see this.
Mette Frederiksen, the Danish PM, went to Berlin and to Paris this week and got strong support from both Macron and Merz. And I think the feeling is that maybe we can do something if we're in this together. And whereas for a long time the Danes and the Greenlandic were very scared actually of what the Americans might do, I think the feeling is that we can make a difference and that we probably will try and do that. And I think that's what's clear with the message being sent from Copenhagen this weekend.
Journalist Jakob Illeborg joining us.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and it's funny because here in the United States, like, one of the things we take a lot of pride in is like protesting and people standing up for what they believe in. And that seems to be what the people in Copenhagen and Denmark are doing right here, you know, saying they've had enough and also not allowing this disrespect to go unnoticed. And yeah, so like I kind of said, this whole situation was actually really sad to see and embarrassing for the United States, but you know, good for Denmark, you know, for standing up for yourselves and for standing up for these, you know, soldiers who died. And yeah, this is so disappointing. But I was glad to watch this and, you know, be aware of this. So anyway, if you enjoyed this, feel free to give this video a like, or leave a comment with your thoughts on any of this stuff that happened in Denmark, or your thoughts and feelings on this. And if you're interested in more videos like this, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.